Hi guys, Dr. B here. This is your lecture for the scientific method. It's also our first topic we are covering other than lab safety for this course. So some key terms you need to be aware of: scientific method or process, hypothesis, independent, dependent, control variable. So independent variable, dependent variable, control variable, and theory, scientific theory. So all this stuff you've probably already heard of. Which is good. Should be a review, but just a refresher, and just so you know, you will be asked about this, and you will have assignments related to these topics. So the steps of the scientific method. There's 5 of them. Sometimes there's 6. It just depends who you ask. So the first step is collecting observations, asking questions, creating a hypothesis, the actual experiment, and drawing conclusions. When you're collecting observations, it's what you see, what you notice, things that kind of draw your attention, whatever the case may be. When you ask questions, obviously, there's an observation, it makes you wonder something, it makes you question something, and that kind of creates the second step. The hypothesis is an explanation that might be true. It's an educated guess based on your observations, maybe even your prior knowledge, and it's trying to answer those questions that you asked because of the observations. So your experimentation, well, that sounded weird. Experimentation is used to confirm your hypothesis, or maybe you might disprove it. Now, when you do an experiment, you need to have, obviously besides your materials, you need some things called variables. So your variables, get my pen ready to go. There are 3 of them: control, independent, dependent, and we'll go over definitions for these, examples, etc. So a control variable or a controlled variable, it is whatever stays the same. So it is constant throughout your experiments. Independent variable is what you are testing. What you change intentionally as the experimenter. The dependent variable, so it depends on it. I hate doing that, but it depends on the independent variable. It is, some other definitions for that, it is what is measured. Or you can even say it is the result of the changes you make in the experiment. So make sure you're aware of these variables. And then you draw your conclusions. Basically, whether your data supports your hypothesis or whether it may not support it. It just depends. So what is a theory? A theory is a set of related hypotheses that have been tested and confirmed by other scientists. So you'll notice on the first part of this little flow chart, if you will, part of it is the scientific method. Questions, observations, hypotheses, experimentation, etc. Notice though that you have some hypotheses that are supported and others that are, that's kind of scary. Hold on. Others that are, it's still scary. Jeez. Well, red's bad. So red is bad, so it's rejected. So what happens is, let's say in this class, so we have our classroom here. Okay? And in our classroom, all of you conduct an experiment, whatever the case may be. And in this experiment, you each have your own, you all have the same hypothesis. And in the end, unfortunately, let's say, let's divide this into, this is just an example. You don't have to draw all this stuff out, but it's just meant to kind of help you visualize. So let's say all of you, and you all have your hypotheses, and then all of this that's shaded is here. All of these are, the hypothesis is supported, meaning your experiment had all said the same thing, except for about 2/8, or I guess a fourth of the, that's probably not as bad, that's not as good. So let's say 7/8 all say the same thing. Basically, all of your hypotheses are all related and they all have the same result, or they all kind of confirm each other. Unfortunately, this part here, this part here, okay, something I'm trying to do. Okay, why is it not doing it? It's weird. That part there that was supposed to be green, all of this right here, these are hypotheses were not really supported. Unfortunately for these people right here, even though these are all rejected, most of these are actually kind of saying all the same thing. So in this case, kind of majority rules. And if all the hypotheses are kind of said the same, like it's repeated multiple times, it eventually becomes a theory, like theory of relativity, or theory of evolution, or gravity used to be a theory, now it's considered a law, some type of things. So the key to remember is that scientific theory, it is an explanation based on a body of facts that have been repeatedly confirmed through observation and experimentation. So the fact that it's seen multiple times, verified by many, that's what makes it a theory. So identifying variables. So we talked about independent, dependent, and control variables. So Neville Longbottom, if you like Harry Potter, is a herbologist and wants to learn more about the gillyweed plant. He places the sample in a fish tank filled with water. He wants to record the rate of photosynthesis by counting the number of bubbles produced. He moves the lamp from 5 to 10 to 15 centimeters and counts the bubbles at each length. Identify the independent, dependent, and control variables for this experiment. Okay. So you have to know your definitions. Independent variable is what you change intentionally as the experimenter. The dependent variable is the result, or what is measured because of the change you made. Control variables stay the same throughout the whole experiment. So you have to think, what are some things, or if I want to figure out what the independent variable, that's the easy one. So what is he intentionally doing, or what is he intentionally changing to kind of get his to do his experiment? So you notice that he intentionally moves the lamp. So this moving the lamp here this is your independent variable, moving the lamp from 5 to 10 to 15 centimeters, etc. And yes, I know this is not on the handout that you have, but you really need to pay attention, because if you don't, you won't be able to do your assignments. Okay. Dependent variable. So it is what is measured. So he is counting the bubbles, which is measuring the photosynthesis. So the control variables, you have to kind of use your imagination. Okay, so some things that can be control variables, and then when you hear them, you'll think, oh, that's what a control variable is. So it is, you can say it is the same plant. This is a control variable because it has to be the same plant. He places the sample in a fish tank filled with water. It's going to be the same size fish tank, or the same fish tank, the same type of water. So notice how there's certain things that need to be held accountable, or I mean, take into account when you're doing this. Also, if you want to be technical, the same person who is going to do the counting, so the experimenter is also the experimenter is also a control variable because he's the one who's going to be the same throughout each experiment. So you have to think, basically, you need one independent and one dependent variable in each experiment you do. And then your control variable can be whatever you need to kind of keep it the same or keep it consistent, because if you have more than one independent variable, you don't know what's causing your results to occur, your dependent variable. So you can only have one independent variable and one dependent variable. You can have as many control variables as you need to make sure your experiment is valid. So you may want to hopefully pay attention to that. I'll repeat it one more time. You can only have one independent variable because if you have more than one, you will not know what is causing your dependent variable or what is causing your results. So please keep that in mind. You might want to write that down too. So this assignment that you're going to do, it's related to this video link that you're going to see in your Google Classroom. So in the video itself, hopefully you watch it, because if you don't, you won't know what I'm talking about. So in the video, it's called a hot cart challenge. Don't actually do this because it sounds really bad, like the naming of it. So essentially, you have these firefighters, and I think basically first responders. They are doing an experiment. They're seeing how long they can last in a car that's turned off and it's left in a parking lot. Kind of like, how sometimes some people unfortunately leave their kids in the car and accidents or things happen that are horrible. So the video is meant to show people and demonstrate the effects of this. So why am I asking you to do this? Well, this is related to one of your assignments. So you are going to design it's a shoulder partner, but it's fine. You can think about it. You can quietly talk to a neighbor if you like, but nothing too crazy. So you are going to design only an experiment. You are not going to do this because that's kind of horrible. So don't do that. So you're going to discuss and identify possible variables on what you're testing. Be prepared. So I know since I can call you, well, it's video, so I can't call you, but be prepared because you're going to have to submit something to indicate that you have completed this part. So for example, I want to test the effects of shade on a car's dashboard temperature. So you have to kind of state what I want to test this. And this is, whatever. So my independent variable will be where the car is parked. That's what I'm going to kind of manipulate. And the car's dashboard temperature. That's what I want to measure. The effects of shade on the car's dashboard temperature here, this kind of gives me my independent and dependent variable. So say what you want to test and then list your independent and dependent variable. Hopefully you get it correct. So what do I need to have consistent every single time? So same paint job of the car, same color and material of the dashboard, same location, again the same parking lot or something like that. Same type of car, maybe that may have an effect, I don't know, but I need to keep it consistent, all of this consistent, because I don't know what shade, well, I only want to see where the shade is, like where it's parked in the car, like where it's parked in the parking lot. Maybe something else I need to consider is the same time of day. Something like that. You have to be considerate of those things. So just design this. Do not actually do this. So this is one of your assignments. Number 2, this homework here. Oops, well, it's being like that. It's weird. Your homework or your assignment for number 2 will be just an independent, dependent control variable identification worksheet that you're going to have to complete. All right. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. Hit the like and subscribe and all that. Thanks. Bye.